here's the first question. Sys asks. He says, "Hi, you guys are amazing. Thanks for all the toots. The toots are so far. Loving it. With regards to zigzag, if I'm to add a pickup at certain intervals just to lower speed of the player for a defined time frame, where can I do that?" So Ed is the mastermind behind this, so I'm going to defer that question to Ed. And if anybody has anything they want to throw in, please go ahead.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So yes, that was I was ready for the other question first, but I'll take this one. So the question is if we wanted to add pickups, basically, in a nutshell, if we want to add pickups to the game, how and where would we do it? You're going to pick up being some kind of object in the game that you would run into, pick up, hit to do something, and in this case, slow the character down for a little while. The advice I'm going to give is to take a look in game.lua down at about line 132. What you're looking for is the enter frame function. And if you followed along the series, you'll remember that what happens here is that every frame, two functions are called in the wall module. The first function we call is remove segments if needed, and the second one is draw segment if needed. This is the one that we're interested in. Basically what this is doing is every frame it checks to see, do I need to draw more parts of the hallway, the wall, the background, etc. This is the same kind of logic you want to apply to saying, is it appropriate at this time to draw a pickup object? So what you want to do is simply, I would suggest this, is make a copy of wall.lua, the wall module, gut it, take out all the stuff that draws the hallways, etc., and just leave the decision code in there. And then the simplest way is to first have it create a pickup at every position where it would have put a new hallway segment. So take all of this left wall, right wall content out and replace it with something as simple as display.newCircle. And then place it right in the center of the hallway. Don't do the offset or any of that. Then once you get that work, oh, and of course what you'll want to do is replace the draw segment if needed code with the code to do the drawing of the pickup, and then make sure in game Lua to simply add your new, let's say you called it pickup M, draw, let's see, what this will do, if coded correctly, is draw a circle at every juncture that every turn, basically. So if you followed my instructions just now, you draw a circle here, there'd be a circle here, and so on and so forth. And once you get that working, then you can start to think about how often do I draw a circle, adding a physics body to it so I can collide with it. How do I make sure that when the player collides with it, it does something interesting? And also, how do I position it other than at the turn? Because at the turn, interesting. Down the middle of the hallway, more interesting, because then you have a decision to make. I mean, this is a short segment, but you can imagine, at least I do, that adding a pickup in the hallway where the user has to jog to the right or jog to the left temporarily to pick it up is much more of a challenge than simply aligning correctly at the juncture. So that's my medium short answer to that question.
Okay, seems like you could get really fancy with that. You could say, you know, you can make the screen flash whenever they do the pickup, which would add an obstruction to the screen, right? I mean, so you can do
a number of interesting things with this.
You'd want to pick the pickups up, but then at the same time, you might not want to because you're like, oh.
Yeah, I like that idea because you're giving them a boost, but you're also making it sort of like, that's a little bit too dangerous because I lost track of where I was.
Yeah, making it harder. Yeah, definitely. And then, yeah, you might, like you said, you might want to only show them a pickup on long stretches of hallway, whereas the short one might be too distracting. So, okay, so it says also, how do I change the buttons to PNG files? The push button class .lua is all drawing buttons. So yeah, this was I ran into this when I was using one of your templates, because I know you have a push button class, but I wanted an image there. So I had that same question.
Okay, so it's interesting you should mention that. So first of all, it's important to realize that in this series, although SSK has been included, I'm not using the SSK button library. So for people who are new, or basically, how do you draw a button? There are different ways to draw a button in Corona. One, you can roll your own system. Do it all on your own. That's the one I suggest for people to start off with, because you'll learn a lot about drawing buttons and touches and things like that. However, another way to do it is to use the widget class. Perfectly valid. It's or the widget library. I don't personally use it because I want to control a little bit more about what's going on in the system, and I like to own the code in a sense. Another way to do it: use the button system supplied with this code, which was simply extracted, I'm sorry, from our OOP discussion about 2 or 3 months ago. I lost track of what number I'm on, but another way to make buttons, and I'm not going to talk about it today, but I will talk about it in the future, which is to use the SSK button system. So in short, the SSK library has a button system for push buttons, toggle buttons, radio buttons, sliders. It's also got a callback generator, so you can hook these things up to saving data in tables, persisting the information directly to your storage. The button library that I produced is designed to make your life as simple as possible and to give you a lot of flexibility with regards to what the buttons look like and how they behave. But for this game, I did not want to get distracted by the details, because there are quite a few details depending on how far you want to take the visual aesthetics of your buttons and behaviors and etc. Instead, I used, as I said, the OOP example, and these buttons right here, which we're looking at, came out of 2 files. And specifically, we're using the code from, if you're looking at the framed copy of this game, app framed scripts, and then you want to look at pushbuttonclass.lua. And this pushbutton class, in a nutshell, what it does is it produces 2 rectangles, one on top of the other, and basically just swaps them out. One is visible, one is not. But when you click on it, it swaps the visibility. So you can specify one rectangle is yellow, the other one is blue. And then when I clicked on it, perhaps if I made the blue one the selected color, that's what it would show. I didn't click on it, it would be yellow. In this case, it's yellow and slightly less transparent yellow, or translucent. So let's look at the code. I'll point you in the right direction. So using the code that comes with the game, we're looking at pushbutton class Lua, and at the very top you'll see this table definition, and in here we have X, Y, width, and then we get to these interesting parameters called cell fill and uncell fill. And what this is short for is selected fill, unselected fill. Down below, use these to set the fill color for rectangles. So as I said before, these buttons are basically simple rectangles with a fill color and an optional stroke color.